Okay, I wanted to give an update on, and sorry about the camera cutting off half my head, but it is what it is. Well, maybe I can raise it up. But anyway, I wanted to, while I'm doing that, I wanted to give an update on, it didn't help much. Anyway, on the adoption process, excuse me, on some of my previous videos, you'll see I was really frustrated and we were having a really bad day. And I think there was like 3 or 4 parts of it where we're certified or licensed as therapeutic foster family. The particular agency that we went through failed to inform us, even though we were pretty clear that we wanted to adopt from the foster care system. And they're not a bad agency. There was just a miscommunication that cost us 6 months to a year, but it's okay. It's all right. So we have most likely decided to go with another agency because we wanted to adopt. As in the other videos, there was a waiting child that through Adopt Us Kids that we were interested in. Well, he's listed on some other websites, and turns out that our agency only does foster care home studies, but they didn't. I guess I was naive. I didn't realize that. We've talked with another agency who said that they do their adoption home study and their foster care home study at the same time. And even though it's 2 different home studies, they do it simultaneously. The agency we're currently working with doesn't do them at all. They just do the foster care home studies. We did not know that, or we would not have went with the agency. It's the whole reason we got licensed as foster parents. Well, not the whole reason. So, after talking with a new agency that will do both, where we can foster and adopt, they're sending us out paperwork, and we're going to pursue getting a home study done with them and getting our license transferred to them. And we'll keep everybody updated. It pushed back our inquiry on this particular little boy, but I've emailed a social worker, and I hope that if he hasn't been placed yet, which, you know, he hadn't been placed in the last couple of years, maybe he'll still be there, because I really feel like this is the child. Feel like that he would be a good fit. I hate to say it like that, but and that we may be a good match for him. We may be good parents for him. I feel like we could be the parents, you know, that he needs, and we just really want to be there for him. I can't explain it. We really are interested in this particular little boy. So that's where we're at. We're going to most likely we're waiting on the paperwork to be mailed. Move our license and go with this other agency who will do both. Here's the downside to that. We have to end up paying for a home study, which, yes, I know people who do private adoptions and who do adoptions internationally, because we've been through some agencies and waiting lists. You have to pay for your home study, but usually through the foster care system you don't. Or at least that's what I have been told by the people who've adopted through the foster care system. So, we weren't prepared for the fact that we're going to have to shell out a couple $1,000s to adopt this child who's a foster child, who's a waiting foster child, who's in the process of being free for adoption, although we're licensed as foster parents. Now, had the child been in our home, placed in our home through the foster care system, and in the beginning, the agency would have paid for it. But since we're having to do it the way we're having to do it, because the agency we're with now didn't, we just should have not got our license through this particular agency, because, and they're not a bad agency, don't get me wrong. There was just a miscommunication on their part, and a misunderstanding on my part. You know, it's okay. I'll keep everybody posted as we go through the process. Some of you may be going through what I've been through. Some of you may not. And I know that on some of my groups that I'm in with, adoption and foster care, each state apparently is different. I mean, in some states you don't have to do anything. Your local DSS will do the adoption home study. Not here. And apparently in other states you have to do 2 separate ones. And, I mean, it's just really weird. They really, I feel like the kids suffer. Because you have kids who are waiting, and you have parents who are interested. Oh, and I found out that they don't really like to place interstate. Which, sometimes I get the reasons. It's kind of hard unless you, or as parents, are willing to travel and stay in that state for a little bit. Which, if you really want that child, you should be willing to do that. We're willing to do that. If I have to go live there for a couple months, I will. But the point is, the transition can be a little bit harder, but it is possible. I don't feel like this child, or any child who's waiting in the foster care system to be adopted, should not be denied a family or not be able to be placed with that family because of location, geography. Yeah, geography. Sorry, I'm tired. Oh yeah, and what was so funny, as a side point, I'm going to stop with the adoption for 1 second to say, in one of my other videos, I went in the crust of the matter, and it's the crux of the matter. I knew that at the time, but I was just so tired. That's what came out. I couldn't think of the word. Anyway, it was just funny. So if you see that video and you're thinking, wow, what idiot is that? It was me, because I didn't know that. I mean, I did know that, but I didn't know that at the time I couldn't think of the word, but I knew that it wasn't crust. But that's the only thing that came out. Anyway, back to the adoption. So, what I was saying was, unfortunately, what we're finding out is that some of the kids may not get a home. You know, it's an unspoken thing, I guess, that these kids, they put them on the websites because they want it to seem as though, well, that's not the right way to say this. They wanted the state to see that they're doing everything in their power to place these kids. But, in my opinion, and that's all it is, if you are not looking at home studies from parents from other states, because it's a little bit more work, you're doing a disservice not only to the child who is waiting, who may never get placed, because there may not be that right family. The right family may not be in that state. Maybe maybe the child is in South Carolina, and maybe the family who is the best fit and who that child is meant to be with and grow up and be a part of their family is in California. So, because you have to do a little bit more work, are you going to say, well, I'm not even going to look at them? We'll just keep hoping, that a miracle happens and we find a family in South Carolina. In the meantime, this child is waiting years and years and years for, where's my mommy and daddy? Well, but they have no clue that there's a mommy and daddy in California or wherever, not that we're in California, we're not, that wants to be their parent, and they don't even get the chance or don't get looked at or they get put on the bottom of the stack because it may be a little extra work. That is what I would hope and pray, that one day the system changes. The social services, whoever is in charge of this, whatever this is, the system of foster care. And I get so tired of hearing people, well, why does all these people go overseas to adopt? There's a reason for that. Because the United States makes it almost impossible to adopt from the foster care system. I was so jaded. You see celebrities or you see other people who say, oh, we adopted through the foster care system. Well, let me tell you, it was a happy accident that they adopted through the foster care system, because if you go deliberately trying, unless you're a famous person, it's going to be very hard for you to adopt unless you're willing to take any child. And I'm not saying that being willing to take any child is a bad thing. We are open to looking at all children. But it's a disservice to the child if we are not the parents for them. If, we're interested in special needs kids and we are trained or have experience with special needs, medical special needs, say, and you have a child who has, something, behavioral special needs, which, like I said before, to a degree, all children in the foster care system will have some emotional and some behavioral. But let's say a child has RAD or, oppositional defiant disorder. If I don't have experience with children who have that severity of emotional or behavioral issues, it's a disservice, I'm sorry, there's my cat, to that child, in my opinion, for a family to say, sure, I'll take them. and then it not work out, and then there's an adoption disruption later. Kitty, move. Anyway, I'm sorry. So, although we're open to all children, we want to really make sure that not only are we a good match for the child is a good match for us. And I'm so sorry, the cat is like loving on the camera. But that's just my opinion, and I think that is where some of the flaws are happening, or some of the delays, or I'm not thinking of the right term right now, but that's where I think some of the problems with the foster care system and with the waiting children is coming from is there's not enough social workers to do all the work out there, and it's sad. I feel like our licensing worker, we've had several workers. The licensing worker is not a bad person. She's funny and a good person, I feel, but after this experience, there were times when I had reservations because I saw her be very scattered, and for me, I'm a scattered kind of person, to say that someone is more scattered than me, that's really scattered. I don't know how many times our paperwork was lost, but that wasn't all her fault, because we started with one worker and filled out our application stuff, and then that worker got promoted, and of course then the paperwork got lost, we had to refill it out. Well, then I asked for a copy of everything, and she says, well, I thought you made a copy when you signed everything and sent it in. I didn't. I should have. But based on some of the blogs or foster care adoption groups, I thought that at the end, when everything was done, you would get a copy of your whole file, your home study and everything. Nope. At least not through this particular agency. If you want your file and your home study or whatever, assessment, and that's such a confusing term because they say your pre-placement assessment, and they throw that around all the time just as much as they do home study. Well, apparently that all means different things. But the point is, she was overwhelmed. She had 2 workers' caseloads and had no help. So, therefore, I feel like we were told or not told certain things, mainly because she was overwhelmed. And then there was some straight out, yes, she did tell us, and the first worker as well did tell us, yes, we have these children all the time. Yes, we place special needs, but what turns out they mean emotional special needs. They didn't mean like, physical special needs. If a physical special needs child, like medical special needs child, happens to come through their system, then they place them. But they didn't specialize in that, even though when you say therapy, to me, therapeutic, that includes medical special needs. But anyway, point is, and she said, certain things that were not true. But I don't think it was malicious. I think it was just, she really wanted us to be licensed because there's a great need for foster homes. But we don't want to do any more damage to any kids than the system has already done to the kids. So we want to be sure that we're the right family for the child. We don't want to just take them if there's another foster home out here who is better suited to be able to care for them and meet their needs. So, the advice that I would say, and I'm going pretty long in this video, to anyone else going to the foster care system, I don't care how stupid you think you look. Ask questions, 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 questions before you sign on with an agency, before you go through all the training, only to find out that, if you want to adopt younger kids, or you want to adopt this, or, medical special needs or emotional special needs or whatever, and then to find out afterward, oh, well, we don't really deal with that. Well, you think you could have told me that ahead of time. So, in the end of the day, it's my fault for not being more thorough. To a small degree, but a little bit of it's just as much their fault though. I'm not going to take the rap for all of it, because I was told certain things that was not what happened. I was told, yes, you could adopt, but what they mean is if you happen to have a foster child and after so many years their parental rights are terminated, then if they're in your home, you have the option to adoption. That is foster to adopt. But there's also the other foster, you have to foster in our state 6 months, even if you're going to adopt the child. Like, if your child is free for adoption and you're pursuing adoption, you still have to be a foster parent. So, to me, foster to adopt included that as well. And I'm going really long on this video. I'm sorry. Point is, I'll update everybody. We're at the point where we're going to move our license. And I hate to do that because I really like my intake worker, but it is what it is. Because this other agency can do a home study for adoption / foster, and our old agency couldn't. So, hopefully they can use some of the information that all the training, so we don't have to redo that. But, you know, basically we're set back another 6 months. So, there you go. I'll keep everybody posted. And I'm sorry, I know I keep going back and... Okay, thanks.